It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Jake Schaff, going over all of the biggest news and events from right here in Greater West Bloomfield. Recently, the Sylvan Lake community gathered for a beloved summer tradition celebrating a landmark anniversary. The 60th annual Sylvan Lake Ice Cream Social brought together families, friends, and neighbors to commemorate the end of another fantastic Michigan summer with sweet, delicious desserts and fun outdoor activities. And all of it was put together by the Sylvan Lake Garden Club. Of course, I was there to capture all of the fun and excitement and to hear just how much of an impact this event has on everybody.
Well, my wife and I, Jennifer, are newly married and newly moved into the neighborhood. And I've lived here once before for a minute, but we just thought it would be a great place to move in and bring our animals, and just a great community. We love the lake, we love water skiing, and so we're happy to be in the community, and this is our first ice cream social.
Well, it's, of course, the 60th year for this, and Sylvan Lake does so many things to bring the community together. And you've seen the table, you've seen the ice cream, it's deliciousness. You see the people coming in and the kids smiling. It's just another great event where people bring a lot of homemade desserts and everybody has fun.
60 years. I mean, that really says a lot for how much that this event has stood the test of time and has really made a name for itself in this community, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. People in this area love the community center, love to come to these events, and who doesn't love a good dessert?
We have a big crowd. We have all kinds of bounce house and, cornhole and a lot of help. Everybody donates things. Ellen's Bakery donated a couple cakes for us. All the garden club members, a lot of people in the community donate desserts, and they're great. I mean, they're just great. $2. You can't get it any cheaper than that. Ray's ice cream and a wonderful homemade dessert.
What do you think events like this represent for the Sylvan Lake community?
I think they represent just that, community. So many others are just neighborhoods. This is a community. People enjoy working together and having socializing events, and the community's really just picked up speed over the years, and just a really nice place, and we love the fact that there's community here.
I love watching the kids having fun. There's the climbing wall. Of course, there's all the desserts they enjoy, the bounce house. I guess just seeing neighbors catching up with each other, lots of positives.
I think it's a great community event. It's a great place to meet new people, your neighbors that you haven't seen before. I'm personally sitting at the table saying, who's that person over there? Who's that person? And so we get to know more people in our community, and it's just a fun event.
Summer may be coming to an end, but everyone is still making the most of their time outside and spending it with the people who matter the most. Big thank you to the Sylvan Lake Garden Club for having me out there and for capturing all of the smiles. The West Bloomfield School District invites families and community members to come together for the 14th annual Family Fun Night on Thursday, August 28th at 5 p.m. This beloved tradition celebrates school spirit and community pride while saluting our nation's military, police, and fire heroes. Guests can look forward to an evening filled with fun activities, entertainment, and camaraderie, and it all takes place on Thursday, August 28th, followed by a great football match between the West Bloomfield Lakers taking on the Dearborn Fordson Tractors. Make sure you mark your calendars, as we can't wait to see everybody out there. One of the favorite fall outings in Greater West Bloomfield is on the move. Same place, but a little bit earlier in 2025 for the West Bloomfield Fire Department Open House, moving from its usual October date back to Sunday, September 21st. The move makes room for the fire department to clear out Fire Station Number 1 right next to West Bloomfield High School, which is the annual location for the event, and is also set to undergo a significant renovation overhaul in October. For more information on the Fire Department Open House, you can follow them on Facebook at WB Fire Department for more information. But that's sure to be a very fun event, just as it is every year. A former West Bloomfield resident is set to embark on an adventure around the world. West Bloomfield native and reality TV star Taylor Hale has been announced as one of the contestants of the upcoming 38th season of The Amazing Race, set to premiere on CBS on September 25th. Taylor is a former winner of the reality series Big Brother in 2022, and before that won the title of Miss Michigan USA in 2021, even winning Miss Congeniality at the Miss USA pageant. Taylor's partner for the season is Kylan Young, another former Big Brother house guest, staying in line with the season's theme of every team consisting of at least one former contestant from the famed reality show. I am a huge fan of the show, as is our other host, Tyler Kieft. Can't wait to see what Taylor and Kylan accomplish on their worldwide adventure. Best of luck to both of them. West Bloomfield is welcoming something brand new this fall with the grand opening of Be Balanced Natural Hormone Weight Loss on Thursday, September 25th. The new location offers women a natural, safe, and proven way to shed stubborn weight while finding relief from hormone-related symptoms. Guests are invited to join the festivities and be part of this milestone event as Be Balanced brings its unique approach to the community. Wellness coach Rosalind Reeves is one of the owners of Be Balanced, and she joins us now on the Splash Live to tell us all about it. Rosalind, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Really, really happy to see you today, and really excited to be hearing about Be Balanced opening in West Bloomfield. So jumping right into it, what inspired you to open your first Be Balanced Center in the Detroit area, especially in West Bloomfield?
Well, you know the saying, live, work, play. We live, we work, and now we play in West Bloomfield with our Be Balanced Center. Stephanie and I, who is the co-owner, Stephanie Kenny, we're sisters. And our family has lived in West Bloomfield on and off for over 30 years now. We've raised our children here. We have played here. And now we have a business here. We have seen West Bloomfield West Bloomfield grow over the many years, and we're so happy to be a part of this.
Of course, and it's great that this is a family business and you get to share this with your sister and build something really, really positive in the West Bloomfield community. Now, Rosalind, we actually got to hear a little bit about Be Balanced back during the Health and Wellness Fair in West Bloomfield a couple of months ago. But for those unfamiliar, can you walk us through how Be Balanced's natural hormone balancing program differs from traditional weight loss or hormone replacement therapy?
Well, Be Balanced takes a holistic approach to weight loss and overall health. So you always hear women say, oh, when I go through menopause, and oh, when I start perimenopause, I'm going to have all of these symptoms. What Be Balanced does is approach it from a holistic standpoint. We have a three-pronged program which tackles the food part. It also tackles the supplementation and supplementing your body part, but it also attacks stress. And stress is apparent in our lives, whether we know it or not. It's coming through our TV screens, it's coming through our phones that are in our hands all day. It could be that candle on the table that's letting off fumes. And so we tackle it from a three-prong approach, and we really try to get to the bottom of pesky menopause symptoms, which are night sweats, hot flashes, low libido, low energy, all of those things. But the thing about it is, with Be Balanced, is those things are mentioned as being common and normal, but we don't have to deal with them. And we have a way of eliminating them out of your life through our program.
Sounds like a very, very effective program. Sounds like there are a lot of positive benefits to come from it. And it sounds like there's a lot of components to this program. But could you describe some of the core components, particularly the role of meal planning, supplementation, mindset work, and stress management?
And so, in terms of meal planning, a lot of people think they have to go and buy all of this stuff. We don't do bars, we don't do shakes. We do have a shake, but it's not a part of our main program. What we do is we give you a list and we have things that you can eat. And a lot of times, it's things that people are already eating, but it's just the way that it's prepared. But you can do our program by simply just going to the grocery store and shopping the outer rims. We also have a stress management program. And so we're going to teach you how to deal with the stress in your life. We're going to introduce some new habits to you and some new ways of decompressing on a daily basis, as well as some journaling.
Very, very impactful resources for everybody to take into consideration. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, I'm talking with wellness coach Rosalind Reeves, who's one of the owners of Be Balanced, which is going to be having its grand opening in West Bloomfield on Thursday, September 25th. Now, Rosalind, how do you ensure each patient receives personalized care with the Be Balanced program?
Well, one thing that I loved about Be Balanced is that it's center-based. This is not a multi-level marketing company. I'm not selling supplements out of my trunk. We actually have a place that women can come and escape what's happening in the world and talk with their counselor. We do offer virtual. Sometimes people can't make it to their center, but we built this beautiful center, and I'm sitting right here in our lobby so that women can come, escape the world, talk about the symptoms that they're having in their lives, and get real answers.
That's right. And could you tell us about some of the results clients typically see from this program, both physical and emotional?
Well, we do have a number that we throw out there, and it's not that I'm just throwing it out there. If you do our program within the first 28 days of our program, you are going to lose between 15 and 21 pounds. It's very, very miraculous at how fast the supplements work, how fast the whole food diet goes along with it, and simply letting go of some of the stresses in your life, how they synergistically all work to eliminate weight.
Wow, sounds like a lot of great benefits to come from this program. Love hearing about all of this success. Now, your grand opening is scheduled for Thursday, September 25th. What's your vision for this event, and what kind of atmosphere and experience do you hope to create for your guests?
Well, the first thing that we'll have is we'll be doing what we do every day. We'll be talking with people, we'll be doing consultations, we'll be speaking to them about the products and what are the components of the program, and looking at their symptoms and doing what we do every day. But I'm so very excited. Be Balanced is a franchise. We have franchises all over the country. We make the 26th franchise in the family of the franchises. But our owner and founder and creator and also author, Dawn Cotillo, will be here in our center. This is her book, and I'm turning it the wrong way, but she will be in center. She'll be speaking to people. She'll be talking to people. They are so excited about what we have to offer here in West Bloomfield. Corporate is coming. They are going to be on hand as well. So we're just excited about all of that, as well as we are partnering with a local catering company that will be providing some of the foods that are in our recipe book so that people can try some of the food that's offered while you're on the program. It's just going to be an atmosphere of a new journey of wellness, and we hope that everyone can come out and make it. And of course, the chamber will be here. And you're invited too.
I mean, it sounds like you're going to be seeing everything Be Balanced has to offer at this event. I can't wait to see what's to come. I got a couple more questions before we wrap things up, Rosalind.
Okay.
As I said,
I'm
this
here.
is the first Be Balanced Center in the greater Detroit area. Do you foresee expanding or adding specialized services throughout greater Detroit?
Right. Oh, absolutely. So, and that's why Be Balanced is so excited, because this is a whole new market that we're opening up. Michigan, there aren't any in Michigan. And so we have several more slated to roll out over the next several months and years here in the Michigan area. We want to impact as many women as possible and get this word out about Be Balanced.
Absolutely. And what are your biggest aspirations for Be Balanced centers in Michigan, would you say?
I mean, it just goes down to the one person. If we can make a difference, like it made a difference in my life, I've done the program as well as my sister has done the program. If we can make a difference in the life of one woman, we have done our job. So we plan on impacting hundreds of women and just letting them know that you do not have to accept the symptoms of menopause. There are answers. You can feel and look great and be the weight that you like to be, for the rest of your life.
I love to hear it, Rosalind, and I love to hear about all of your success. Last question, where can people go to learn a little bit more information about Be Balanced and what you guys have to offer?
So go to our website. It's BeBalancedCenters with an S on the end.com. And then there's a little button that you click. You fill out a free hormone assessment. It just asks a few questions. Fill that out. You put in your zip code and it'll come right to our center here in West Bloomfield, and we will contact you. And that's where your journey begins.
All right. Once again, the grand opening event is scheduled for Thursday, September 25th for Be Balanced in West Bloomfield. Rosalind Reeves, thank you so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'll be looking for you. We have a men's program too.
That's great to hear. That's even more wonderful resources for everybody in Greater West Bloomfield. Can't wait to see what Be Balanced has to offer in the community, and can't wait to see how the business continues to grow. A homebound connection was found right in Sylvan Lake that one Floridian had no idea even existed. Dawn Cressley of Homestead, Florida, visited Michigan for a wedding and contacted the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society for information about a home that her great-grandfather, Charles Fisher, designed and built over 100 years ago. Little was Dawn aware of how much of an impact Charles had on Sylvan Lake, as he owned several different lots and designed several prominent buildings in the community. Dawn joined us recently on the Splash Live to tell us all about her discovery.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you on, joining us all the way from Florida just a few weeks ago. Before this, you were right here with us in our local community. You came into town, you're coming into town for a wedding, but beforehand, you were going to be in the area. You wanted to find this connection with your great-grandfather. You didn't know where to start. Now, you eventually found the house that you were looking for in the city of Sylvan Lake, but now, what was the process like to find that actual house along the way?
So I actually contacted the Historical Society, who put me in touch with Helen Jane Peters, who is the resident historian. Mm-hmm. And she was able to tell me that she had actually babysat in the house and knew the couple that was living there, and contacted them to actually let me visit the home and learn more information about all the things that my great-grandfather had done in the community back in the 1920s.
Yeah, Helen Jane Peters is such a great resource for Sylvan Lake history and for all these different stories that date back sometimes maybe just a few years, sometimes all the way back to the very beginning, and some of those seminal moments in the history of the city of Sylvan Lake. Dawn, for you, of course, you have that family connection to Charles Fisher, who was your great-grandfather and designed this particular home in Sylvan Lake, known as Wildwood. It's on Oakwood in Sylvan Lake. It was the family name for the home. was Wildwood. That's really all you had, was the name of your great-grandfather, the name of the home, and the fact that it was in the city of Sylvan Lake here in the greater West Bloomfield area. But what sparked your desire to make this connection with your great-grandfather and see this home? What got you interested in that?
So I was excited. I had never visited Michigan before. I had heard a lot of great things about the Pontiac area. I knew that's where my grandmother was born. I knew that the time that they spent in Sylvan Lake, my dad's oldest brother and sister were born in Pontiac and spent 2 years there. My grandfather was in medical school, and I knew that there was a lot of precious memories there, and I just wanted to visit the area and see the home, and it was amazing.
You can see the home on your screen, some pictures, some of the historical pictures. You saw a look of what it's like today over on Oakwood in Sylvan Lake. And Dawn, for you, this kind of all came together so quickly. Helen Jane Peters, I spoke with her just before this interview earlier on today, and she had mentioned that in the days before, that's when you were making contact with the Historical Society. They got through to her, and she actually made contact with you, say, hey, I found the home. I've talked to the homeowners. They want to have you come in and take a look at this home with those ties to your great-grandfather. On the day you arrived, as you were at Detroit Metro Airport, coming in. Now, what was that moment like for you to not only hear, hey, I found the home, the people that are in the home are welcoming me into it, but to have that happen as you're actually getting into town that day?
It was just amazing. I couldn't believe that such a small community could offer such information and, just such friendliness. It was amazing. And I had the photo album, and I took it with me into the home to meet Barbara and Mark, and they were just so amazing and so interested in seeing all the old pictures and comparing the old rooms and what they were like then and what, you can see similarities now. And it was, everybody was just so amazing and giving me information about the buildings that my great-grandfather had built in the community. I had no idea that he had built City Hall, that he had built a schoolhouse that, was a very popular building in the community, that him and my grandmother had donated a painting, Mary Had a Little Lamb, that is also an amazing story. And this information has just been so wonderful to share with my family members who really didn't know this information from my family. After I talked to an aunt after World War II started, a lot of things in Michigan were, I think, kind of lost. So this was just amazing information that a lot of the family members just were blown away hearing about.
And it was an interesting part of the story, too. Helen Jane told me that something that both she and you were pretty surprised to find as you were able to tour this home during your time in Sylvan Lake was that it was built in 1919. A lot of what was in the original design is still part of how it is designed and laid out today, including something pretty cool. You mentioned that this kind of all sparked from wanting to get a little bit big of a connection to your grandmother who last lived in the area from your family. Charles Fisher, your great-grandfather, his grandchildren had their hands imprinted into the feet imprinted into the den's plaster wall. It's still there.
Well, interestingly enough, my grandmother was an art major at Beaver College back in the 1920s, and there she is, and she would always do handprints of her children and grandchildren. And as soon as I saw the footprints next to the fireplace, I knew that was my grandmother with her children doing footprints in the plaster. It was just so very touching to see that it had been restored, and that it was just amazing.
How surprised were you, Dawn, to find that the community was so helpful, so welcoming in making these connections for you, and in the process being able to to sort of bring together those connections that they have to their city history through places like the Daniel Whitfield School, which your great-grandfather helped to design. Of course, the Mary and Her Little Lamb painting that was in the Whitfield School has recently been restored in the city of Sylvan Lake. How surprised were you that these connections were so strong and that you were able to make that sort of immediate connection with the Sylvan Lake community yourself?
All I can say is it was just so very touching that the community was just so warm and welcoming and able to share this information that really my family and my aunt, who's in New Hampshire right now, still alive, I was able to share this information with her. Just so heartfelt thanks to everybody in the community that were able to share a lot of this information that none of us were aware of. I tell this story to people in Miami and friends I have here, and people cannot believe the amazing people of this small town in Michigan that were able to share such history. And, that I was able to pass this along and that we can continue to pass this along to, the rest of our family.
The prettiest little city in Michigan that's more than just the picturesque views on Sylvan Lake and in other areas. Dawn, thank you so much for joining us, and big congratulations to you to be able to have gone on this journey and found what you were looking for here in the city of Sylvan Lake.
Thank you so much, and thanks to Helen and Barbara and Mark and everybody that were helped to make this journey possible this summer. Best part of my summer. I can't say thank you enough.
History's a funny thing, and it can always lead you on some very, very interesting journeys. Was really, really happy to hear about Dawn's journey and to hear that we helped to make her summer that much memorable. We're going to take a quick break right here on the program, jump into some more stories and some more very exciting topics right after this. Live, local, social. It's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with The Splash Live.
So much is happening in your community. Join Jake, Tyler, and Kevin for local events and developments on The Splash Live, weekdays at 10 a.m. on CivicCenterTV.com, YouTube, and Facebook.
When you have a gambling problem, you have a money problem. Don't let your gambling cause you financial hardship. If you or someone you love is struggling with gambling, we can help. Get free confidential counseling and win your life back. Learn more at michigan.gov/problemgambling.
Find local municipal meetings at our program schedule on CivicCenterTV.com. Find when your meetings air live or when they're replaying on our Civic Center TV live stream. Find it all at CivicCenterTV.com and click Schedule at the top of the screen. And now, back to The Splash, live.
Live, local, social. It's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Jake Sheff, going over all of the biggest news and events from right here in Greater West Bloomfield. Everybody's back to school in Greater West Bloomfield, which means student athletics is gearing up for many different sports. The West Bloomfield Lakers will be hitting the football field against the Dearborn Fordson Tractors in just a few short days, kicking off what's sure to be an electric season from these very talented student athletes. Eric Pierce, the athletic director for the West Bloomfield School District, joins us now on the Splash Live to tell us all about it. Eric, really, really happy to have you with us this morning.
Jake, it's great to be here. Thank you as always for having me.
Of course. Another school year is underway and many different sports are going to be gearing up in the coming months. What are your overall expectations for West Bloomfield High School athletics for the 2025-26 school year?
Well, I think as an athletic director, the biggest thing that we want is we stay to our mission with West Bloomfield Athletics, and that's to offer the best experience possible in educational athletics for our student athletes. And with the amount of offerings that we have and the coaches that we have and the players and the facilities, there's no doubt that that's going to occur again this year. Extremely excited for the fall season. We have, increased participation in a lot of our sports, and we're looking to turn some heads in the fall.
Can't wait to see it. Now, football has always been a major spotlight program at West Bloomfield High School. And like I said, we're going to be seeing the football team out on the field in just a couple days. What do you anticipate from this year's team, both on and off the field?
Yeah, so this year's team's a little bit of a new look for us. We have a new quarterback coming in, Jackson Carver, that's going to be at the helm of our offense. He's an exciting athlete that's out there. He definitely looks the part. He's tall, he's athletic, he's got a strong arm. And we've got a lot of people that know their assignments and can understand their role, and we're looking forward to great things from them. A Jamal Shakespeare, who's going to go out there in both offense and defense and do some great things for us. Jeremiah Benson, one of our stud defensive linemen, that's going to contribute greatly. Will Espy, who's going to hold down the defense, whether it's safety or in other positions. We've got big Travis Robertson on the offensive line, our 6'7" monster on the offensive line that holds things down, and other people like Kamari Pittman on defense that are going to do great things. So overall, like I said, it's a little bit of a different look in terms of our team this year. But I'm impressed with what I've seen so far, and I think the community can expect great things from the Laker football program this year.
I'm trying to take mental notes of every single name you just said, so that way in a few years, when the NFL draft comes around and these names get called, I could say, oh, I remember this guy back when they were playing for West Bloomfield. Hopefully see a few future Max Hairstons out there as well. And beyond football, what other sports programs do you think really have the potential to stand out this year?
Well, one of the first thing that comes to mind is girls swim and dive, and we have an absolute star in our girls swimming program, in Elizabeth Eichbrecht, who's won multiple state titles every year that she's been here so far at West Bloomfield High School. She's a senior this year. Looking forward to end it with a couple more state titles and some events, but she does a fantastic job. Boys soccer is something that last year we won a district title in. They started off with a win against Walled Lake Northern last week. And once again, a new look team, but we've got kids that know how to win in the program. And we're looking forward to exciting things there from Coach Kostecki and his team. Volleyball has a new coach this year, and Mike Armstrong took over for our volleyball program. But we have a bunch of leaders on that team and a bunch of fantastic student athletes, names such as Kelsey Hartley, Amani Agut, you look at Sasha Jackson, and they'll all contribute and do wonderful things for our volleyball program as well. And then, we've got our golf program has expanded since Taylor Strobridge and Kevin Reed took over. Field hockey started off with a win against Birmingham just last night. Cross country's all in swing right now. Boys tennis. I mean, there's just a full gamut of sports opportunities, equestrian as well.
West Bloomfield, home to some very, very talented athletes. That's what I'm hearing, Eric. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, I'm talking with West Bloomfield High School Athletic Director Eric Pierce, giving us a preview of what we can expect from student athletics this school year. Now, Eric, Detroit's professional sports teams have had a bit of a resurgence within the last few years. The Lions have had some of the best seasons they've had recently. Pistons have done great things in the playoffs, and the Tigers right now are one of the top teams in baseball. Do you feel that momentum trickles down and inspires athletes at the high school level?
Of course, I think anytime that there's a buzz with the professional teams around, you see it trickle down to the younger levels, whether it's 8U baseball or 10U or whatever, going all the way up through high school. Athletes are still role models, and no matter what level you're looking at, college, pros, whatever, you're going to want to see people that want to try to emulate what they're doing out there. And the fact that the pro teams, the professional teams in Detroit are doing such a great job right now, and you've got some college teams that are doing some wonderful things. it sure does inspire our programs around here. You can see that in the increased participation that happens when you see teams that are out there doing extremely well.
I mean, yeah, everywhere you look, there are some athletes who are really making a name for themselves and serving as inspirations for a lot of these high school students, like Tarek Skubal and Cade Cunningham and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Lots of great athletes to look up to. And it's also, I think, community support plays a big role in the success of these high school athletics. How do you see that energy building as these local pro teams also succeed?
Yeah, I love the community support that we have in West Bloomfield, and it really does kick off, Jake, with one of our first activities that we have with Family Fun Night that happens this Thursday for our opening football game. And it's really wonderful as an athletic director to see how many students come out, how many of their families come out, and they look at and honor the police and all the military services, and then they come in and they support our Lakers when they're out on the field. It's a wonderful atmosphere. It really does provide an excellent start to the football season. I'm looking forward to it on Thursday. Hopefully the rain holds off with everything because we want as many people there as we possibly can. But it provides an electric atmosphere. So I can't thank the community enough for how much they support our Lakers athletics programs. And that goes beyond just, coming to the games and being in the seats, but it's about, voting for the different facilities that we have and the expansion of the facilities. And it provides us with excellent opportunities for our student athletes.
That's certainly right. And speaking of those facilities, I'm curious, are there going to be any new initiatives or programs being introduced this year to support the athletics at West Bloomfield High School?
Well, we always have some things in the works, right? There's always a list of plans that we have and things that we want to look at. One of the things that we did develop or did bring into athletics this year were huddle cameras. So now we can basically provide some instant support and feedback for our teams while they're in game. We're going to have those cameras that are available for every single one of our programs that are out there. We did pay for the subscription for everybody, so it's really bringing technology to all of our sports, not just the sports like football or volleyball, but making sure that all our teams have that opportunity as well.
Oh, I love it, Eric. I love everything you're telling me. That's sure to be a great introduction and a great thing to see with the football team. A couple more questions before we wrap things up. All in all, what are your biggest hopes for West Bloomfield High School athletics this year, both in terms of team achievements and individual growth?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we always hang our hat on here at West Bloomfield is the idea of a student athlete. And our student athletes, they really do excel both on the field and in the classroom. And you see that, whether it's through our signing days that we have where we honor our students that are going to compete in college and continue to compete in their sport, or just the number of the senior scholar athletes that we have and that we honor every single year. Our students are absolutely leading by example on and off the field, and that's truly an honor to be out there and watch them and see how they grow and develop from their freshman year all the way through their senior year. The other thing that as an athletic program that we always look for is we always look to have our teams be a better product at the end of the year than they are at the beginning of the year. We want to see that continued growth. We want to see how they gel with each other. We want to see that they're putting the team above themselves, in a lot of cases. And it's fun to watch that development as we go through the seasons as well. But most importantly, we want our student athletes to have these memorable experiences that last a lifetime. And when they look back at their Laker experience, they can say, hey, Laker Nation was awesome. It was great to be a part of it. It was great to play sports. It was great to have the fans cheer for us. And it was great to support all of our other teammates and friends and all the other teams that are out there that were competing for the Lakers.
Fantastic. Last question, Eric. Looking long term, how do you envision West Bloomfield High School's athletic program continuing to grow and adapt in the years to come?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we see right now is development of youth programs in some of our sports to help with the growth of those sports. For instance, something like field hockey with our coach Zahid is doing a lot of youth clinics to try to expand that program. Softball, Coach Mike Bauer is trying to do the same thing in terms of having these clinics for our community where they can come out and actually learn from the high school coach and eventually build that program as well. Boys lacrosse, you started seeing things going on in the middle school for our lacrosse program, where they offered co-ed lacrosse in the middle school to help be a feeder program to our lacrosse programs here as well. So ultimately, the goal is growth in everything. We want to keep on providing as many opportunities as we can for our students so that they can go out and achieve and feel a part of something. We always talk about West Bloomfield High School and how it's a place where everybody belongs. And the reason why it's a place where everybody belongs is because we have a number of sports, clubs, activities, things that they can do that make them feel a part of something. And ultimately, that's the big plan here, is to keep everybody involved in everything.
That's right, and I cannot wait to see what every single one of these athletes accomplishes throughout this entire school year. Eric, thank you so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Thanks so much, Jake. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Lots of great sports to be looking out for with the West Bloomfield High School athletic department. And it all kicks off on Thursday, August 28th, when the West Bloomfield Lakers hit the football field for the first time this season. Back to school is a time of transition for kids all throughout Greater West Bloomfield, and a change from the ease of summer back into the grind of a long school year. So how do we beat the anxiety of a new school year? We had some very helpful advice from Dr. Melanie Schwartz from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness, and she recently joined us on the Splash Live to tell us all about it.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you on to talk about this. We're still, for some kids, a few weeks away as we're doing this on the live show today. And for others, they may be watching this in the days or even the day before the school year begins. So as we ease out of the summer and we get toward the first day of school, what are some steps that parents and kids alike can take to sort of wind down the summer and get into school mode?
Well, there's lots of things. I mean, we're doing it in my house right now. We're talking about it, making sure they're prepared, making sure they have their school supplies, making sure we're getting them back on a good sleep schedule, getting them into a little bit of a routine that they've been out of all summer. So, kind of scheduling their days a little bit more than they have been. They're going to bed whenever they feel like it, and kind of spending probably more time doing things that they're not going to be doing during the school year. So kind of getting them back into, well, at least for both my kids, actually, their sports have already started for the school year. So that's one thing that they've gotten back into already. So that's been helpful to kind of get them ready for school that starts in 2 weeks. Making sure they have their school supplies, taking them to go get those, if that's something that you do, helps them feel like they have a little bit more control. Talking about lunch, talking about what are they going to want to take in their lunch, helping them have a little bit more control in the situation rather than, this is what's happening, this is where you're going, just deal with it. It's kind of giving them a little bit of the control in terms of helping them get more comfortable with the idea.
Yeah, getting into that different mode of a little less free time, a little less ability to move your schedule around as it is. It's a lot more rigid when you go into the school year. Dr. Schwartz, there's different levels of this too, because kids of all different ages are going to be beginning the school year, whether it's elementary, middle, high school, or even those that are going off to college, university, or other schools for the first time outside of their K-12 education. Let's begin with the younger kids, especially those that are going to be going into kindergarten or into the grades for the first time. They're going to be going into their regular school day in their entire life, be away from their parents. So how do you make that transition? What's some advice in that case for parents that can help their kids and for kids as they get into this new routine?
I think the nice thing that the schools do is that the year before, if you know what school you're going to, they do, offer the kids to come see the school, see the classrooms. And I think that helps. And then having a conversation with them during the summer about what did you like about your classroom? What are you excited about? What are you scared about? I think it also helps, obviously, with all grades, have the opportunity to go to school before school starts. I know my kids get it, the day before school starts, where they can, meet their teachers, go see where their locker is, go, kind of get the lay of the land. Again, if it's a new school, that's really important because it helps them, again, feel like they have a little bit more control if they know what the classroom is going to look like and who their teacher is, and kind of meet the other kids in the class ahead of time to decrease their anxiety about it, because it's all anticipation anxiety. Once they get there and they get settled, they're fine. It's just a matter of not knowing and just not knowing what to expect. So everybody's better if they know what to expect. So the more information you can kind of give the kids, age appropriately, about what is kindergarten like? What are you going to be learning this year? What are you excited to learn? What's that going to be like for them? That's what's going to help the kids adjust and be comfortable.
And especially for those younger kids going into school for the first time, it's that first extended period of time that they're away from their parents.
Yes.
And not just that, but on a regular basis too.
Right.
So for parents that are really close with their younger kids and they have those super strong bonds, what is some advice, especially in these days and weeks leading up to the first day, to help maybe separate that a little bit more and see, get the experience for those younger kids of maybe being away from the parents or being a little bit more independent in this way?
Mm-hmm. I mean, definitely, I think it's different for different kids. Some kids are just going to go off and be perfectly fine and not look back. And they're ready and they're excited to go. And then there's the kids who have a little bit more separation anxiety because they haven't been away from their parents yet. And that, I think it might be important to, if they have some friends, maybe take them over to their friends' houses and let them have a play date over there without you around, or take them over to a relative's house, same thing, without you around, just to kind of get a little bit more comfortable and adjusted to it. It's still not going to be the experience of school, but it's something if you're used to, being with the kids all day long and it's something new. Obviously talking to them, always talking, always communicating with them. I will say that about any of these topics that we talked about today, making sure that you're talking to them. What are they afraid of? What are they nervous about? What's mom and dad going to be doing while they're at school? And maybe just don't make it too exciting because you don't want them to have any, FOMO. But talking about, again, really making a big deal about what they're going to be doing at school, meeting new people, learning. Just make it very exciting for them so it's a place that they want to go. Even if parents weren't big fans of school, making it a big deal for the kids because that's what makes them excited and more ready to get out of the house and go.
Yeah, and making that transition as comfortable as possible for those kids going back. Maybe school's a little bit more of an uncomfortable environment for them at that age. Or, of course, we've been talking a lot about those going in for the very first time. Dr. Melanie Schwartz is with us from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness as we get ready for going back to school in the 2025-2026 school year. We started with the younger kids. Let's go into the middle school kids now. This is a kind of a paradigm shift, sort of the biggest paradigm shift we see other than going in initially to school altogether. Now it's really the first time they get that little taste of independence. Maybe they're going to different classrooms more often. They're certainly going to be blended in with more kids from different schools than what they've been used to for the past 5, 6, 7 years. Before that, what's your advice on helping parents help their kids navigate that big change?
Interestingly enough, 6th graders are usually very excited to go to a different school. They're ready. They had their big send-off in 5th grade. They're done. They're ready to move on. They're ready to be the big kids the youngest in bigger school, but they're ready to be big kids in a different school. Their biggest anxiety generally is around all the new kids and making new friends and what that's going to be like. Kids don't often have too many issues with switching classes. They're excited about it. The elementary school's done a good job of kind of prepping them and even, again, took them over to the middle school to see what it was like and they're ready to kind of have this new experience and be different from what elementary school was like. So most of these kids are very excited to go. Again, kids that don't like school, it's a little different of a story. Usually when there's a dislike of school, it's due to separation anxiety, fear of something's going to happen to the parents while they're gone, or, grades are a struggle for them. But they do often, when you ask those kids what they're excited about, it's about being able to see their friends. So, really hyping up the social piece of it all, even though I think everyone can agree, middle school is probably the most difficult years of the educational system socially, but the kids do get excited for it. So I personally haven't seen too many issues as part of the transition to middle school, because the kids are really, really excited about it. But again, as I've said before, I'll say it again, communicate with the kids. Ask them, even if they're not saying anything, even if they seem totally fine, just make sure you're talking to the kids. A lot of parents will say, well, if they're upset, I don't want to like create some anxiety for them, so I don't want to talk about it. But it's more important to talk than not to talk. So just make sure, again, what are you excited about? What are you not excited about? How can I make it easier for you? What can we do ahead of time? So just so that the kids feel like they have more control, because that's what's going to make the transition easier for them.
And your kids, you've seen them from the day that they've been born until now. You know their mannerisms. Yep. Kind of when they're not feeling quite right, and you can sense that. Yep. Having those conversations is a great way to keep up with that. Dr. Schwartz, you made a really good point too, that middle school is kind of that most treacherous period of childhood from a school perspective, particularly on the social side. That can have a big impact on the kids, but that's also a really critical point for parents to have that involvement and have those conversations with their child or with their children and be able to do their part to help them through that as well. What advice do you have for parents in terms of intervening, having those sort of conversations, and helping their kids navigate a really difficult time in their youth?
I would really try to be very involved. Okay. Not in the school, but with the kids during this time, because everyone's maturing at a different rate at this point. You have some kids who have, gone through puberty at this point, some who are just about to, some who, are somewhere in the middle. And it gets to be difficult for them emotionally, the kids emotionally, because they're growing at different rates and going through this critical time at such different rates. And emotionally, that has a strong impact on them. So making sure that you are very involved in knowing what they're doing, knowing what their thoughts are, knowing, how they're feeling, how they deal with their emotions, what's going on. If you feel like your kid is not opening up, is very closed off, doesn't want to talk to you, that's a good opportunity to talk to the school about them maybe talking to the social worker, or even maybe getting them into therapy, where they have someone outside the family who can talk to them and kind of get their feelings out, because it is a really hard time emotionally for these kids during that age range. And the most important thing is just going to be that they're talking and they feel like they can talk to somebody. Again, it doesn't have to be a parent, it doesn't have to be a sibling, it doesn't have to be a family member. Just make sure they're talking to somebody and being able to kind of work through whatever's going on during that time.
Dr. Melanie Schwartz is with us from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness. More information and ways to get in contact with them, viewpointpw.com. As we talk about going back to school, very similar sort of transition between elementary to middle school to high school for kids, but something that maybe isn't looked over too much when you're talking about the psychology or the mental health perspective of going back to school. It's those older high school kids, they've been through the motions, they're used to this, especially those seniors going into their final year. They kind of know what's going to be going on in those last few months of their schooling. Maybe they have their future sort of planned out already, and it's easy for them to sort of lose their focus along the way. Many times we hear about senioritis when they get into that point of the year. So for parents, how do they help to keep their kids focused as they go into their last year of high school, which some look at as being maybe less critical than the other three before, but can really have a big impact on setting them up for going into their adult life?
So this is really tricky at that age, because they're going to push back. They think they know it all, and they don't want anyone telling them what to do, especially their parents when they're seniors. And parents are kind of knowing they still need to parent, and they still need to navigate and kind of push the kids forward to get them to that finish line for whatever that looks like, if they're going to college or whatever that next step is for them. And it's kind of a struggle to figure out how to communicate effectively with the kids. So there's different approaches to this. It could be completely hands off. You tell the kids, if they're going to college, you know what you have to do to get into the college that you want to get into, and have at it. And, be there for them if the kids need it, but let them kind of take the lead and prepare them for college a little bit, where you are going to be completely hands off. The other approach that I do see happen sometimes with, the kids who are struggling a bit more, and they do need kind of somebody to lead them and guide them, is, you want to be able to lead them, but again, it's also this struggle of hands off because, they don't want to be told what to do. So it's kind of how you talk to them is really the key, not what you're saying to them. You're saying the same things to them. You're saying, hey, okay, this is what you have to do. This is when you have to do it. This is where you have to be. Whatever it is that you guys need to talk about, you have to get these grades. You have to, work on your college applications, all of those things. It's just a matter of how you're saying it to them. And if you're saying it to them in a very not controlling way, I guess would be the right way to say it, but kind of like, okay, here's your list. Let's look at it. Let's kind of go through it, but kind of stand a little bit more standoffish than maybe you have been in the past. Then they're going to be more likely to do it. None of these kids, seniors, do not want to be told what to do. They don't. So make sure how you are saying something is the most important. It's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. And I guess that's the key to kind of get through senior year, because they are really ready to go and get out of the house, and they're focused on college. And again, that senioritis thing does kick in probably more second semester than first semester, because they still got to get into college first semester. But it's there, and there might have to be a little bit of kind of just, I don't want to say walking on eggshells, because that's not, I don't want anyone ever walking on eggshells, but kind of just like how you approach it is key. So
yeah, kind of that point where you start to remove your hands from their shoulders, guiding them in the right direction, and kind of just walk alongside them, and occasionally give them a tap on the shoulder and say, hey, maybe a little bit more this way.
And just let them know you're always there for them. You are there to support them however they need it, but you got to step back a little bit to get them ready for that next stage.
Dr. Schwartz, we thank you for being with us. One last question for you. It's also a big time of transition for parents whose kids are now through high school. They're through their K-12 education. Maybe they're going into the workforce. Maybe they're going to a trade school. They're going to a college or university. That independence is pretty much up to about as close to 100% or at 100% for many of these kids. That's a big transition, particularly for the parents, on top of course, being one for the kids. So for parents that are experiencing this for the first time, letting one of their kids, maybe their only kid, out of the nest and into their own independent life, how do they navigate that transition in a way that is both beneficial, of course, to their child, but also isn't going to be necessarily a major source of anxiety for them that can take a toll on them as individuals or them as co-parents potentially as well?
I think, it's important to realize it's a grieving process.
Yeah.
So it usually starts senior year. And, once the kids get accepted into college, or they've discussed, what that next step is, and if they're going to trade school or they're starting a job, whatever it might be, or they're moving away, whatever it might be, that's when the grief process starts. And for parents to realize that it's a process, and, acknowledge your emotions about it. That's key. Okay. When, because it's a complete transition that you haven't had for 18 years of this child's life. This is new, whether it's, the first child or the last child, somewhere in between, it is still going to be a big change to your life of not having, a child who's now an adult and moving on and starting this new step where you are no longer that your parenting role changes. It looks completely different after that stage. And so talking about it with, the co-parent, how are they feeling? How are you feeling about it? Talk to the kids. How do you want to be parented moving forward? Okay, because what you think it might look like versus what they expect it to be might look totally different. So have that conversation with the kids. As far as parents getting through it, if the kids who are going to college, and let's say you're an empty nester, it's going to be important for you to plan what your life is going to be like. Okay, what is that going to look like? How are you going to move forward without kids in the house? I think I've said this before in the past when we've talked about this, but my sister-in-law did this before, and she's done it every year now that she's an empty nester. She takes a trip once the kids are off to college. That way she's not sad. She's enjoying herself. She's going and doing her thing, and then she comes back and she can kind of reintegrate and figure it all out. But she did something enjoyable and can distract herself for a while instead of sitting at home and feeling sad that nobody's in the house right now, that's been great for her. So, figuring out what activities are you gonna, or hobbies or new things are you gonna incorporate, and figuring out what is life gonna be like without kids if you're an empty nester. If, it's one less child, your structure doesn't change that much. You still are going to be taking kids to school or whatever you have to do and, still parenting quite a bit. But it's still going to be different without the one child. Another thing, have the conversation with your child if they're moving out, how often are you going to talk to them? Right now you talk to them, I'm guessing, every day, right? Multiple times a day. But when they move out, how often do you expect to talk to them? Because that can be a factor too, where you're expecting to talk to your kid just as frequently, but the kid is like, oh, I'm good once a week, once a month, whatever it is. Have these conversations ahead of time so that you can prepare. Just like any other transition that's happening, going to school, as much as you can prepare, the better off everyone's going to be.
Got to get the kids ready to go back to school. Parents, got to get yourself ready to go back as well. Dr. Schwartz, always appreciate your advice, especially when we have something like this that has a careful balance for everybody involved going back to school. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And that is going to do it for us today here on the Splash Live. Big thank you to all of our guests and for everybody on the Splash Live team for helping to make this show possible. I've been your host, Jake Schaff. Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.